taxi service.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how hard is that? Like, to come to, like, just think, like, if we couldn't Uber, like if we had an issue with Uber or Lyft, you know what I'm saying? Like, and we wanted to get our get back or whatever the issue was economically, we wanted to, show ourselves. Like, oh, us as people, we're not gonna use Uber and Lyft for a whole year.
Right.
Like, how much change could happen, because they're gonna be like, that demographic of us it's a small percentage, but it's gonna take up a lot of the money, the income, right? And
I
so,
mean,
yeah,
to his so when you look at the history of this country, we'll go all the way back to the American Revolution. Wasn't a lot of dudes. Like George Washington wasn't even a guy in the political scene. He was actually a general that had fought for the British, but when he came over here,
you talking about president?
yeah, President George Washington.
Okay.
Like the dudes was Benjamin Franklin, Alexander Hamilton, Thomas Jefferson. Like them was the dudes that was doing a lot of the writing, the hiding out, the writing their papers, writing their letters and stuff like that. And these dudes end up becoming wanted men. Now at that time, the way spies and stuff like that, it wasn't like it evolved into, but like the British were like looking for these dudes, like we gotta cut the head off the snake. You know what I'm saying? Fast forward to that time period of 50s or 60s. Everybody who was involved with something, it wasn't just one guy. We have the misconception that it was just King, and they were probably two of the most prominent voices. I would say they were one A and
The
one
face,
B.
basically.
Right, but
the
prior
face.
to that, the person that was dealing with, we talked about this a few weeks ago, the person that was dealing with the voting was Medgar Evers.
Yeah,
They got rid of him.
yeah.
You see what I'm saying? You're talking about King, who was dealing with more so legislation, and we need our paycheck back. What you promised us in the constitutional paper, we need that. He was dealing with the legislative slide. Cut his head off. You dealing with the Malcolm, who was able to galvanize the people, no matter what your religion was or your faith was, no matter whether you was an ex-con or you was an educator, he galvanized everybody. Got to cut his head off. Even the white people who were allies, John F. Kennedy and Robert Kennedy,
Yep.
they got to cut their heads off.
Yep, because they were for us.
You see what I'm saying? You look at the college age, which was the Black Panthers, Huey P. Newton, Bobby Seals, who they put him on trial with the, I believe they were called the Chicago 7. But he was on trial because they said they tried to start a riot or something. So you get him. You get a lot of the Black Panther leaders. They start introducing the drugs. Them dudes got strung out on drugs. Fred Hampton. You kill him.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? Like the Stokely Carmichaels and people like that, they flee and hide out in Africa and other places like that because they're wanted by the government. So like anybody who was about an agent of change.
Yeah.
And see all of these people, even though they wasn't necessarily united, like we're all in the same car, they were united in the sense of we all going the same direction.
Yeah.
So we may not all be driving in the same car, but we all going down the same street to the same destination. But, okay, we're going to knock off the Black Panthers. We're going to knock over the Southern, it was called SNCC. I forget what the acronym stood for, but it was SNCC. And then it was the SCLC, which was Southern Christian Leadership Conference.
Yeah.
Like those guys. You see what I'm saying? Like anybody, the Nation of Islam, we're going to knock off anybody and everybody who is an agent of change.
Yeah.
And so, on the flip side, when you look at other ethnicities, you got a whole nation of people who rode behind Mahatma Gandhi and was okay with him being the guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at January 6th. You had a whole segment of the population. Now, again, it's some stuff, you know what I'm saying, Agent Orange say.
Right.
That, hey, it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? It's other stuff. I can't rock with that. But let's keep it a buck. He galvanized a whole segment of the population to where they were, like how you were talking about, we can come together and change something. It didn't take but a handful of people to start jumping over that gate. And they didn't care if he was Republican or Democrat.
But see, we ain't going. We don't. For some reason, I don't know why, but as black people, like we just don't get down like that. We don't get down like that until it's us against us. You know what I'm saying? Then we show up and we we ready to kill everybody. You know what I'm saying? When it's us against us, but when it's time for us to be against them, and I'm not talking about like white people. Like I'm just saying the system. Yeah. When it's time for us to stand together and fight against the system, it's only a handful that do that. And like you was, and I'm glad you brought that point up because I was gonna piggyback off of what you said, like how you were saying them people had different things that they were doing to try to push the culture forward. You know what I'm saying? And just to show you how we don't care, I always go back to music because that's my lane.
For sure.
That's what I know. That's what I do. So when I go back to music, all you got to do is just look at all the prominent black entertainers in music, right? Mm-hmm. And you can go look at the your Charlamagne the Gods, your DJ Envy's, and Wallow and Gilly and whoever you want to look at, you can go look at all of them. Now, we've all heard these people have these conversations about the direction that the music is in. And,
it's always a topic.
It's always a topic. And what it's doing to the community and all that. But you never see them take a stand and be like, from now on, we ain't play. If it ain't got meaning, if it ain't got substance, if it ain't got a message, if it ain't uplifting, if it ain't moving us forward, we ain't playing it. You know what I'm saying?
They'll be out of business then.
How they gonna be out of business? You got your own podcast. It's just like y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all got your own podcast. When I'm not gonna say if, when this podcast take off like you wanted to,
right,
and become a conglomerate in the podcast industry, how can somebody tell you when you brought the people to you?
Okay, yeah.